everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here and you're wondering how that happened, whether you're into handmade crafts, the intrigue of criminal cases, or the mysteries that lie beneath, stick around, hit that like button, and subscribe because you have found your people. By the end of this video, you'll see a handcrafted product come to life as we journey through another criminal case. Check out the description box below for more details on the product that I'm creating, and feel free to check out our website while you're there. Now, let's get into today's story. In 1854, amidst the backdrop of the bustling Industrial Revolution and the spread of colonialism, Cordelia Adelaide Brown was born in Polk County, Missouri. The world around her was rapidly changing, with advancements in technology and transportation reshaping daily life. As she grew up and later moved to California with her family, the echoes of progress could be heard in the distant hum of factories and the chugging of steam engines. It was a time when communication was still slow, with letters being the primary mode of contact over long distances. The telegraph, a marvel of modern technology, was just beginning to connect distant lands with its web of wires. Healthcare was also a challenge, with diseases like smallpox claiming many lives due to limited medical knowledge. Despite these challenges, Cordelia's world was one of wonder and possibilities. The rise of cities and the spread of urbanization promised new opportunities, while the ongoing abolitionist movement challenged the institution of slavery that still gripped many parts of the world. Against this backdrop of change and progress, in the world of sweet indulgences, one story stands out for its bitter twist. Cordelia, now a woman of intelligence and cunning, married Welcome Botkin, with whom she shared one son. However, Cordelia's life took a dark turn when she became entangled in a scandalous affair that would lead to a chilling act of revenge. Sidebar. So as I research these stories, my family gets to inadvertently hear them first before you guys because I can't stop talking about the crazy details that I discover. That being said, I told my daughter that Cordelia's husband's name was Welcome. And so she was like, "You mean like you're welcome?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So then she goes, "Well, what was their son's name? Goodbye?" Okay, back to the story. In the vibrant city of San Francisco, amidst the greenery of Golden Gate Park, Cordelia's path crossed with that of John Preston Dunning in 1895. She was 41, 9 years his senior, and both were already married. Despite this, Dunning, a respected reporter for the Associated Press, with a string of successful overseas assignments, was captivated by her charm and wit. His career had taken him to exotic locations like Samoa and Chile, and he had recently been promoted to superintendent of the Associated Press's Western Division Bureau in San Francisco. Although they both had marital commitments, Dunning found himself irresistibly drawn to Cordelia, setting the stage for a scandalous affair that would rock their social circles. Cordelia's personality was often described as manipulative and obsessive, especially when it came to her feelings towards Mary Elizabeth Dunning, John's wife. This jealousy would ultimately drive her to commit a heinous act that would shock a community and leave a lasting mark on history. In 1896, the repercussions of John Preston Dunning's affair with Cordelia came to a head. Mary Elizabeth, John's wife, distraught by her husband's infidelity, made a bold decision. She left John and took their daughter back to Dover, Delaware, seeking refuge in the home of her father, former Congressman John B. Pennington. By this time, Cordelia had become John's lover and constant companion, despite being estranged from her own husband, Welcome, who was working as a grain broker in Stockton, California. Welcome was a little too welcoming to me at this point because he was still supporting her financially. He would send her regular payments even though she was pursuing this affair with John. However, John's life was unraveling. His heavy drinking led to his dismissal from the Associated Press after it was discovered that he had embezzled $4,000 in office funds to pay off gambling debts. All of my mathematicians, gather in the comments below and tell us what that would be in today's money. His downward spiral continued as he was let go by newspapers in Salt Lake City and San Francisco due to his habitual drunkenness. With nowhere else to turn, John moved into Cordelia's hotel, where their affair took a new intensity against the backdrop of scandal and deceit. The illicit affair between Cordelia and John reached its conclusion in March of 1898, after nearly 3 years of secrecy and scandal. Their relationship came to an abrupt end when John was rehired as the lead reporter for the Associated Press, covering what would soon become the Spanish-American War. As John prepared to leave San Francisco for his new assignment, Cordelia was left heartbroken. Tearfully, he told her that he would not be returning to her side. Instead, he chose to reconcile with his wife, Mary Elizabeth, before departing to Cuba. In Cuba, John's bravery and compassion were on full display as he joined efforts to save survivors of the Spanish battleships sunk at the Battle of Santiago de Cuba on July 2, 1898. Despite the turmoil of their affair, John's actions in the aftermath of the battle hinted at a man seeking redemption, leaving Cordelia to grapple with the consequences of their forbidden love. While stateside in the bustling city of San Francisco, Cordelia's scheme was unfolding, unbeknownst to Mary Elizabeth, thousands of miles away in Dover, Delaware. As Cordelia meticulously planned her act of revenge, Mary Elizabeth went about her daily life, unaware of the danger that lurked in the seemingly innocent box of chocolates making its way to her doorstep. Meanwhile, in the quiet town of Dover, Delaware, the summer of 1898 brought tragedy and mystery to the doorstep of Mary Elizabeth and her family. Mary Elizabeth received a box of chocolate one fateful day in August. The package was addressed to her and her sister and seemed innocent enough, with a simple note that read, "With love to yourself and baby." Unknown to Mary Elizabeth, the sender of the candies was none other than Cordelia, who was now consumed by jealousy and rage. Cordelia had previously sent anonymous letters to Mary Elizabeth detailing her husband John's affairs. These letters, filled with taunts and accusations, were intended to sow discord and pain in Mary Elizabeth's life. Do you know how pissed off you have to be to get up out of your bed, light a candle, dip your quill pen in ink, write on parchment paper, fold it up into an envelope stamped with wax, put it in the mail, knowing that they're not going to get this letter for another month or two, and you're not going to get a response because you weren't even bold enough to put your name on it, and sit up and be mad at this woman who is clear across the country, not even thinking about you, probably sitting there gardening, raising her daughter, talking to her father, minding her God-given business. That is a level of pissed off I never in my life want to reach. Oh, and then I forgot to mention that you went to the store, probably had to dodge some horses and carriages to get some candy, to then put that in the mail. And Mary Elizabeth, rest your soul, but I would not have eaten anything that came in the mail back then, because who knows how long it took for it to get there. If it was spoiled, if it was rotten, what dust got kicked up on it. Okay, let's get back to the story. Okay, so Mary Elizabeth receives the box of candy, And it was said that John had described Mary Elizabeth as passionately fond of candy. So this is some information that Cordelia must have known, because Mary Elizabeth wasted no time in indulging in the sweet treats. She took at least 3 pieces for herself and shared the rest with her family and others gathered on the porch of her father's home. However, within days, tragedy struck. Only Mary Elizabeth and her older sister Ida fell gravely ill, suffering from agonizing symptoms of poisoning. Despite efforts to save them both women succumbed to the effects of arsenic poisoning, leaving their family and community in shock and grief. Because I personally would have been shocked that someone wanted to kill me a month ago and then they finally achieved their goal. As authorities investigated the mysterious deaths, Mary Elizabeth's father made a chilling discovery. The handwriting on the note accompanying the chocolates matched the taunting letters she had received in the past detailing John's affairs. It became clear that the chocolates were a sinister gift sent with the intent to harm. The police traced the source of the deadly chocolates to a shop in San Francisco, and the evidence pointed to one suspect, Cordelia Botkin. Cordelia's actions set off a chain of events that would ultimately lead to her downfall as the truth behind the tragic deaths slowly came to light. In a groundbreaking case that captured national attention, Cordelia stood trial before Judge Carol Cook on April 30th, 1904. This trial marked a significant legal milestone as it was the first American prosecution for a crime that spanned 2 different jurisdictions and involved the U.S. Post Office. Cordelia had sent the poison from California, but it was received and its effects felt in Delaware. District Attorney Louis Francis prosecuted the case, presenting evidence and arguments to prove Cordelia's guilt in the murder trial. The courtroom was abuzz with the implications of this unprecedented case, setting the stage for a legal battle that would make history. I guess when they talk about women in history in school, they just skim over Cordelia Botkin, because who wants to know that the first death by Pony Express was from a woman? I know it really wasn't the Pony Express, but you catch my drift. Anywho, in a dramatic turn of events, Cordelia Botkin found herself at the center of a murder trial that would change her life forever. I know I keep putting an S on the end of her name, but Botkin sounds incomplete. So for this video and for my own sanity, the S is going to remain. Thank you, and you're welcome. Initially convicted of murder in December of 1898, Cordelia refused to accept her fate and chose to appeal the decision. However, her hopes were dashed when she faced a retrial in 1904 and was once again found guilty. The courtroom was filled with tension as the judge sentenced Cordelia to life imprisonment, marking the end of a legal battle that had captivated the nation. As the dust settled after the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, Cordelia found herself facing a new chapter of life behind bars. Initially imprisoned in San Francisco, the devastation of the earthquake prompted authorities to transfer her to San Quentin State Prison. We could do a whole nother story on San Quentin alone. It was within the confines of this imposing institution that Cordelia spent the final years of her life, her freedom forever lost for the consequences of her actions. She was sentenced quicker than Mary Elizabeth received that chocolate. Meanwhile, John, who we haven't talked about in a while, his career had been destroyed by the revelations that surfaced during this trial faced against his own struggles. The weight of his past indiscretions and the fallout from Cordelia's actions followed him to Philadelphia, where he spent his final days. I don't know why we're 15 minutes into the story, and only now am I wondering what happened to the children. The once prominent reporter whose life had been entangled with Cordelia's in a web of scandal and deceit passed away 2 years before her, leaving behind a legacy tainted by betrayal and tragedy. The story of Cordelia Botkin's is one of intrigue, jealousy, and ultimately tragedy. Her life intertwined with that of John Preston Dunning and Mary Elizabeth Dunning took a dark turn that led to devastating consequences. Cordelia's actions, driven by jealousy and revenge, resulted in the untimely deaths of Mary Elizabeth and her sister Ida. It also serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the destructive power of jealousy and revenge. Her actions not only ended the lives of 2 innocent women, but also brought about her own downfall. As we reflect on this tragic story, let us remember the importance of empathy, forgiveness, and the consequences of our actions. Let's keep the discussion alive in the comments. I'm personally wondering how Mary Elizabeth's father recognized the handwriting between the letters and the gifts, but she did not. I'm curious to know your thoughts on this story. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Until next time, self-care and stay safe.